everything from climate change through to globalization and what it means for populism, with a whole range of world leaders. Really interesting day again today. Sasha, let's start with you. So today we heard from the Japanese Prime Minister, the German Chancellor, the Italian Prime Minister, the Spanish Prime Minister. What kind of stood out? What stood out for you?
Well, basically, this is what we call Europe's Day at Davos, when you have European leaders here coming with their keynote speeches. Of course, Angela Merkel was obviously very much anticipated because it might be the last time, and she's basically
could
here
well be
in
the last
Davos.
time. Yeah.
So basically, very strong message from German Chancellor. Not that surprising. So she basically said the populism threats are here, they're quite dangerous, and all the sides and all the countries have to stand up against them. That's the message from Angela Merkel. Again, something very much in line with what she normally says.
Yeah, I mean, we have heard that same message before. As you say, though, quite interesting. I think someone did ask her today whether she was going to come back when she's not Chancellor. She retorted that they were lucky to have her today.
Yes.
Very, very Angela Merkel in many regards. Charlotte, you welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome
My
to
first
Davos. Your first Davos, your first night. What's been your impression? It's a strange place, isn't it?
It is, actually. And it's interesting because I thought, well, I didn't for a second think that they were going to take on board the report from Christian Aid or Oxfam or that in relation to the third world, Africa. But I was actually even I was shocked with the number, with the level of riches, the Mercedes cars, the amount of money here, eavesdropping into conversations. I don't think there was too much lofty conversations about populism or about tax justice, unfortunately. I don't think they're heeding the message that we've been talking about on your call over the past couple of days.
Yeah, there is, I mean, very much that this is a disconnected place in many regards, but people still trying to reach out. You walk down this high street, Sasha, and you've got a shop fronts that have essentially been taken over by Russia, the entire country, by Poland, by India, by Ukraine. You Ukrainian, what are they trying to achieve essentially by selling the wares on the high street of Davos?
Did you go to one of those houses?
I haven't been into them yet.
You should, because that's basically
What are they?
The whole promenade's been transformed into those houses. These are the spots for the countries, as you've just said, and for the companies as well. This is their way to promote their countries and to set up meetings and to set up basically a good networking space. Because once you're out of the Davos perimeter,
Yeah.
this is very much about networking.
But isn't it interesting that you've got literally a few doors down Russia and Ukraine?
Well, I can tell you that last year they were just in front of each other.
Really? Okay.
Yes, they were just literally in front of each other last year.
And we heard the French ambassador to the UK actually on BBC earlier today saying that although Emmanuel Macron isn't here for obvious optics reasons, but they have a huge delegation here ready to tell everybody that France is open for business and trying to hoover up any of the business that may be leaving the UK because of Brexit. And he was actually very interesting because he was so pointed about it.
I was talking to someone else earlier on who saw someone come out of the cloakroom and it turned out to be John Kerry. There was a whole range of stalls. I was in a cafe earlier on today.
Prince William.
Prince William in this very restaurant last night, as we just finished filming, came in and had dinner.
We actually thought, why didn't we stay a little bit longer?
But today, I was in a cafe. Ban Ki-moon was there, the former UN Secretary General, Anders Fogh Rasmussen, the former NATO Secretary General, and Peter Mandelson, the former EU Commissioner, all essentially sat in this cafe. It's strange. We haven't got much time, but you are talking to the Irish Prime Minister
Leo Varadkar. One of
tomorrow.
the people of the hour, I think, given the week the weeks that we have unfolding over Brexit. We heard from the European Commission yesterday that Ireland will have a hard border on the island of Ireland in the case of a no deal. Leo Varadkar was at pains today saying that won't be the case. We'll see what he has to say tomorrow. He'll be here with the rest of the European leaders trying to talk to Angela Merkel, trying to make sure that Ireland's position in Europe is safe.
And just a sign that it's not all glamour and money and wealth,
yes.
Sasha. What is it like? Very quickly.
It's really, really busy. So this is what
real
happened when
Davos.
I had to voice over something. This is the glam of TV reporting from Davos. I'm going to show you the photo of me voicing over a piece inside the media center, in the middle of it. I couldn't find a quiet corner, so this is what we had to do there.
So it is not all fun and games. Lots of
Not
work
at
as well,
all.
lots of conversations. Our conversation here is going to continue right now on Facebook. Please tune into that if you can. It's on the Euronews English bit of Facebook. For now, from here until tomorrow evening at the same time. Thanks for watching and join us tomorrow. Good night. Cheers, Sarah. Again, if you are watching us on Facebook, thank you very much for tuning in. We are still going. This conversation has not ended. Thank you guys for that. We're going to show you a picture of your hair in a second. Let's do that. Why don't we do that? Because you've arrived. It's pretty cold here. It is minus 12.
It's cold and I've fallen already. Lost my gloves.
That's never good.
I've
Been
lost
here about
mine too
15
as well.
minutes.
That's why my fingers are pretty much the color of this very napkin. Pretty much so, because it's very, very cold. But this is what happens when you have a 15 minutes walk outside, even though I had a hat.
So Shona,
This is how it is.
you as I say, you've arrived today. What is your impression? Because as I say, it is a bit of a strange place. You turn up and actually, I had no real sense of what to expect when I got here.
I didn't either. And actually, I've been to ski resorts, but this is a one in a million type ski resort. It's just incredibly wealthy.
Yes.
Everybody here as well. You can imagine it's the same anyway without the top richest people in the world. I wonder how long this Davos World Economic Forum will continue. Everything has its time limit.
Yes,
and I wonder is it actually becoming a liability.
How many years is it now? It's 1971 it started.
Yes.
If your maths is good, work that out.
That's actually I thought it was around 81. But anyway, but when people are not turning up, like Emmanuel Macron, people like that, and the reason why they're not showing up is because they know it's actually unpopular with their voters, because it just shouts disconnect. And maybe it's better that you don't show up to these things because being 1% part of the 1%, by the way, anything that is talked about here never materializes.
But what do you think? If somebody doesn't show up, what's the how would it change Davos? Do you think that suddenly they would just eventually stop coming here?
Yeah,
the whole thing will be just.
Yeah, well, I suppose the thing is, maybe there'll just be another type of Davos. Who knows? But certainly nobody believes for a second that any of the lofty notions from Angela Merkel, even though she says she's quite consistent, or any of the discussions about tax justice. None of those actually come to fruition. In fact, most of the people here are lobbying against policies to help people in Africa and people in developing countries.
It is interesting. You look at people like Tony Blair, for example, talking about Brexit.
He's working with
many people have used that against him as saying, you've got no connect with the people who potentially voted for Brexit, because that disconnect is that big. By the way, we want you to get in touch. This is all about you. This is what the Facebook Live is about. Please ask us any questions you want to. Just write them at the bottom of the Facebook page. We will endeavour to try and answer them. You can genuinely ask us what you want. And we have got a question from Ole, who's asking, as it turned out, no one had been able to predict, and this is probably for you, Sasha, the 2008 crisis. Are these people in Davos able to predict the next one? And actually, could the next one be not that far away?
Oh yeah. Well, according to the people I've spoken to, both from Europe, from Asia, from the United States, we are basically heading towards another crisis. The question is that we're not there yet. So basically, we still have some time to prevent it. Whether we can do that this time, of course, this something remains to be seen. But the thing is that basically after the crisis of the 2008, the economy peaked in 2017, and now there has to be a big change to make sure that we are avoiding the next crisis that could be possible.
What kind of changes, though?
It would be the change of the traditional business models and the traditional economic models. That would be the one to somehow basically balance and redirect it all into making the growth more sustainable. For example, if the economy is rather relying on exports, there would be about rebalancing it as well towards demand within the country. So that's basically the key: the sustainability and the balance without redirecting everything into one direction.
Mickey saying bonjour from France.
Bonjour.
Hello to you too. As you said, we did touch on that you're interviewing Nia Varadkar tomorrow. there is interesting that obviously Ireland is a very low tax economy.
Yes.
In fact, many of the multinationals we see on the promenade here in Davos
Are in Ireland.
people who are headquartered here. But he is and Ireland's under pressure from the European Union to try and change that, aren't they?
Yeah, and the Irish finance minister is here as well. Probably, yeah, but you're right. They've come under quite a bit of pressure. I think they've been able to parry that pressure up until now, but for how much longer? I don't think it's going to be for much longer. I think they realise the game is up in terms of the tax model, the policy that they have there. It's not just 25%; it's the various other, holes, I suppose, and ways that tax or multinationals can pay very, very little or no tax. In particular, the resistance to the CCCTB model, which is the tax harmonisation, where everybody in the European Union would have the same tax base, so it would be more transparent, and then you can have your own tax rate, so you have your autonomy there. But the Irish government is against this and resisting it still. I don't know. I have spoken to people within government who realise that the game is probably up within the next couple of years, but for the moment, they're still going to try and sell Ireland to the multinationals.
Definitely questions for Leah Varadkar tomorrow. Sasha, what's been your standout, like, good? You've talked to a lot of people today. What's been interesting?
I talk to lots of people every day.
Yeah, well, today then.
That's what Davos
today.
is about.
Today.
Well, I had a great conversation with the Italian finance minister. That's, of course, a very interesting case following all those months of a row between Rome and the European Union. Very interesting discussion. Already should be on air on Euronews. And basically, Giovanni Tria said that Italy is willing to respect the deficit target, which they have agreed upon in Rome and the European Union. Why this is important? Because Italy is the third largest economy in the euro area, and anybody would tell you, any economist would tell you that basically Italy is just too big to fail.
Yeah, interesting. I spoke to Jimmy Wales today, the founder of Wikipedia. Talked to Liam Fox, who's the International Trade Secretary. I mean, interesting for Britain, of course, with Brexit, with trade. It's built itself, and actually there are massive posters here saying free trade is good. Support Britain essentially. At the airport, I don't know if you saw that as well on the carousels of the airport in Zurich. And yet many would turn around and say, yeah, but you're walking away from the biggest free trade deal and the biggest free trade bloc in the world, which is, i.e., the European Union. And
also the one that you're a constructive member of since its inception in 1991. The UK, the reason why countries like Ireland and Germany are so disheartened because of Brexit is because the UK is so pro-free trade and less protectionist than other countries like France, for example. So it's a huge loss that the UK is leaving the single market, one that it's been so serious about for so long. It actually seems like makes no sense in that regard. I mean, I know that Brexit is much more an emotional issue rather than just an economic issue, but from an economic perspective, it's not a good thing for the single market.
Again, we want to get in touch. Do ask us questions. We want those questions come through. Sasha, who is your favourite spot of today? Your favourite, celebrity?
Oh, that's not an easy one. No.
Bono.
There's too many of them.
No,
There's too many of them here.
That's a tricky one. That's a really tricky one. But you know what I'm going to tell you? Apart from that, we've taken this, to somehow move around Davos, you've got to take all those Davos shuttle buses.
These are little
There are a
buses
couple of lines of them depending on where you go. And Isabel Kumar, a colleague from Euronews, Isabel and myself, we got on a ride today. We did that yesterday as well. And it's just amazing, the people you meet when you are on a bus. Because that's basically the only way to
get
move around, unless you're,
really
president,
famous.
prime minister, CEO, even though you can meet some CEOs there on the bus as well. And the great conversations you have, and then we asked the driver,
who's on the bus?
Who's on the bus? Tell us some stories. And he said, well, I'm a big sports fan, and I've got some sportsmen and Formula One there. So it's a great place to meet people, different people, and that's the beauty of it.
Well, we've got, I think, Matt Damon's here talking about water sustainability. Will.i.am is here.
David Miliband,
Bono was here. I'm not sure I put David Miliband in the same category as
okay.
Bono and Will.i.am. But in saying that, Euronews has interviewed David Miliband about refugees and about the global politics of where we are at the moment. That's going to be playing out over the next couple of days. We're going to ask one last question just before we go. Bial is asking, is it a kind of form probably Sash, you're better on how to make the world poor or spread poverty across the world, because there's no tangible result has ever been sensed and achieved over the years from here. And that is the big question. Is that really good question? That this is just a talking shop. Nothing changes.
Well, we probably should do that next time, maybe tomorrow, day after tomorrow. We have to basically see what has happened over the past year compared to Davos last year, to see what exactly has been done and what hasn't been done in terms of the commitments. Because obviously, we've discussed it already, that the gap between the rich and poor is just increasing year over year, and now there's big pressure on governments to tax the rich individuals and wealthy companies at the same time.
Yeah.
We'll probably have to sit down. Like, I don't want to go into, don't want to tell you, yes, there's been a change, or no, there's been no change. We just have to sit down and compare it to what happened last year and where we are this year.
Yeah, it's a good question. We're actually going to think about that one and try and get a really decent answer for you tomorrow. Shona, very quickly, you excited about tomorrow?
I'm really excited. Leah Riker had a 40th birthday party in Dublin, a star-studded event. I wonder was Bono there. I wasn't invited, so I'll be asking him about that as well.
I wasn't invited either, but there you go. Anyway, thanks again for watching. As I say, carry on asking us questions. Twitter handle?
At Sasha Vakulina.
At Shona Murray _.
And underscore, there we go. And at Darren Euronews. As I say, please keep asking us questions. We're back again, same time tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Have a good night, guys. Cool. Okay, great. Thank you.